Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bands asunder, and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. And while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus which is taken up from you into heaven shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them throughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth.
And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit.
And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
We could resume the dream of Apollo. The goal of SpaceX really was to make as much progress as possible to advance rocket technology to the point where hopefully we can establish a colony on Mars. Dream of Apollo.
And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
Apollo.
Apollyon.
Apollo.
Apollyon.
And we could resume the dream of Apollo.
The angel of the bottomless pit.
Apollo.
Earth's atmosphere at 25,000 miles per hour, the friction of air slows Orion considerably, while also subjecting it to temperatures of 5,000 degrees. With the Orion now at just 300 miles per
So, did you guys catch that kind of what some of those verses were saying? This is a problem that NASA has. If there was a team and then another team and you could pick which team you're going to be on, and if one of the teams had Satan or Lucifer in charge, would you want to be on that team? Because NASA is on that team. And I can explain that. If you heard during the video there, it was Isaiah 14. I will find it. I want you to hear what is said here. And it's actually probably pretty important in the time we live in, because if you think about it, the Tower of Babel was just a building on the ground. And they built it really tall. By the way, welcome everyone. It says that I have 0 concurrent viewers, but I see people in the chat, so YouTube is it's always hard. But, excuse me. But the idea that space is a place to explore is not right. It's not right. I'm just trying to get to the Isaiah part. Oops. Okay. Let's listen. Well, we'll listen to wherever it's at right now.
But had pleasure in unrighteousness. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming.
Did you hear what that said? Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. I think that's talking about when Jesus is coming, that all the evil spirits in hell or Sheol, they remember that that's dark waters, and that's the deep, right? The darkness upon the face of the deep. This is a literal thing. And so they're going into those dark waters, and Enoch saw this happen too. He said that by them ascending and descending into those waters, that it changed the temperature of the waters or something, and that they didn't know and didn't believe, because they didn't believe in the Lord of Spirits. They believed in the flesh and the physical things. Like they believe that heaven is a physical place. It's not. I'm not saying I understand the nature of heaven, but it's not like the nature of the earth. Not at all. So let's continue.
It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee.
This is in reference to that darkness. Now listen what he says about Lucifer.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God.
So Lucifer says he will ascend into heaven. and exalt his throne above the stars of God. I want to play something for you that this is why yesterday something was signed by a bunch of people in the world. Let's check this short video out here.
The Artemis program itself will be the broadest and most diverse international space exploration coalition in history, and these accords are the vehicle to achieve this unprecedented global cooperation. The Artemis journey is to the moon and onto Mars. With these accords, the destination is more than the moon and Mars. It's about peace and prosperity.
All right. Did you guys catch any of that? It's not a big deal, but let me do this. There we go. That's a little better. Just for something in the background. So, I just got to say this, guys. NASA doesn't understand. They don't understand the heavens at all. They think they're physical. And they think there's physics just like Earth in heaven. So they fly up there with their rockets, and they think they can do things up there. And they actually think that the future is up there. And there's a man in the world, which we probably won't get into too much, but there's a man in the world that is making all of this happen. And he's also changing the stars by launching a bunch of Starlink satellites. And he's also, well, I'll just remind you here. He put his brain digital interface device into a herd of swine. I don't know if that reminds you guys of anything that someone did with some unclean spirits. But yeah, he has a brain device chip thing in this pig's head. That's just one thing. So this astronaut, I want you to hear some of the things he has to say. This was uploaded today by NASA.
I remember looking at the Earth for the first time just shortly after we had launched. We had a nighttime launch, and within 9 minutes or so, we're in orbit. And I remember seeing the Terminator, where the light meets the dark on the surface of the Earth. There's an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the experience that so few humans have had to be off the planet and look down at it, and look down and appreciate how beautiful it is and how perfect it is. We're so fortunate to live on such a perfect planet, positioned where it is in the solar system, and that we know of nothing quite like it. When you're out on a spacewalk, when you're outside, and your helmet gives you essentially a 180-degree view of everything around you. In my last spacewalk in January of 2020, I was riding on the robotic arm out to the AMS work site, and we were waiting for one of those leak checks in between, and there was a period of time when there was There was literally nothing that we could do, and so they parked me on the arm above, about 50 yards above the ISS during a night pass, and they were like, okay, you're going to just have to sit here for 20 minutes. Without the obstruction of the atmosphere, without light being refracted, stars are much more distinct. They don't have that twinkle anymore. Everything is very crisp, and naturally you see infinitely more stars and planets mixed in there that are sometimes hard to distinguish, but infinitely more. No atmosphere between you and it, and I was out there above the ISS, nothing between me and eternity. You can't have this experience and not be changed. It does affect you, but I think by and large is what you find that it reinforces beliefs that you already had, because that is our fundamental tendency, to look for evidence that supports what we already believe. It reinforced the importance of stewardship of our planet and carrying those responsible practices with us as we go out and explore, return to the moon, go on to Mars to understand the origins of our own planet. It was an interesting time in those final weeks before we landed in April. We were watching this global pandemic occur. The magnitude of what was occurring on the ground was starting to become more and more apparent as the weeks wore on, and we knew it was going to affect how we arrived on the Earth, and that they were going to have to take different measures, bring us home. We were asked to make a video that asked, what are your impressions of returning to the Earth during a global pandemic? And one of the things that Jessica and Chris and I did was we took some images out the window of the cupola, and I just spontaneously, while panning the camera around and taking some shots of my crewmates looking out the window, I panned along the Earth and I said,
"An Earth in crisis is still an Earth worth returning to."
Just spontaneously, I don't know what made me say it. I think it was a good reflection of how we were feeling about, our time up there. We appreciated it, and we had a new sense of the Earth below us, and saw that the entire planet was experiencing this event that in many ways unified us all, in much the same way that the International Space Station unifies us all, and that we still desired to return to our Earth in all of its greatness and all of its problems. It's still our home.
Ugh. Sorry. So, here's what I say about that. It's not right. What they're doing in the sky is not right. You know what else comes from the sky? People don't seem to understand this very well. But let's watch this kind of like intro thing really quick. This guy, Elon Musk, you gotta keep your eyes on this guy. New Jerusalem, guys. Trodden underfoot. It's in your Bible. It's in your Bible. And this guy is doing a lot of things that are in your Bible. There's a blindness to it, and I don't know why.
No, I mean, I do think that there's a potential path here which is, and we're really getting into science fiction or sort of advanced science stuff, but having some sort of merger with biological intelligence and machine intelligence. To some degree, we are already a cyborg. You think of like the digital tools that you have, your phone, your computer, the applications that you have, like the fact that, as I was mentioning earlier, you can ask a question and instantly get an answer from Google or from other things. And so you already have a digital tertiary layer. I say tertiary because you can think of the limbic system, kind of the animal brain or the primal brain, and then the cortex, kind of the thinking, planning part of the brain, and then your digital self as a third layer. So you already have that, and it's like if somebody dies, their digital ghost is still around. All of their emails and the pictures that they posted and their social media, that still lives, even if if they died. So over time, I think we'll probably see a closer merger of biological intelligence and digital intelligence. And it's mostly about the bandwidth, the speed of the connection between your brain and your the digital extension of yourself. Particularly output. And output, if anything, is getting worse. We used to have like keyboards that we'd use a lot. Now we do most of our input through our thumbs on a phone. And that's just very slow. A computer can communicate at 1 trillion bits per second, but your thumb can maybe do, 10 bits per second or 100 if you're being generous. So some high bandwidth interface to the brain, I think, will be something that helps achieve a symbiosis between human and machine intelligence, and maybe solves the control problem and the usefulness problem. For somebody who's a quadriplegic to full functionality. Like they can walk around, be normal. It's about 1 inch in diameter. Yeah, and you replace that, say, 1 inch diameter piece of skull with this Neuralink device, and then you also got to insert the electrodes. So the electrodes are very carefully inserted with our robot that we developed. It's a good day to be. This event is something that all of humanity can get excited about. It's just a fundamentally positive, good thing. I think we need more positive, good things in this world. This is hopefully the first step on a journey towards a civilization on Mars, life becoming multiplanetary, based on the moon, and expanding beyond Earth, and life becoming a multi-planet species, life becoming multiplanetary for the first time in the 4.5 billion year history of Earth. I think this is hopefully the first step on that journey. It will require a tremendous amount of innovation and technology development to make going to orbit and ultimately beyond orbit a routine matter where thousands and perhaps ultimately millions of people can travel to other planets. That's what we really need to achieve over time. That's obviously a very difficult goal, but that's seeming increasingly real with what happened today. Getting people to orbit, finally after 18 years. If we are able to increase the rate of innovation, then life can become multiplanetary. This is the goal we should strive for. Yeah, human spaceflight was always the goal, the fundamental goal of SpaceX. Well, like I said, to create the technologies or help create the technologies necessary to make life sustainably multiplanetary. I cannot emphasize this enough. This is the thing that we need to do. We must make life sustainably multiplanetary. It's not one planet to the exclusion of another, but to extend life beyond Earth. We are life's agent in this regard. All the creatures and the plants and everyone that exist here on Earth, we can bring them to other planets, and it's very important that we do so as soon as possible, I think, while the window of opportunity is open. I call upon the public to support this goal, and to think about this goal, and think about how important it is, and how fundamental it is to the future. We've got to get it done. The launching satellites is nice, of course, and it keeps we've got to bring in more money than we spend. This is important, but it's ultimately all about life beyond Earth.
I think that a future where we are a spacefaring civilization and out there among the stars, this is very exciting.
Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord.
Like, if you can't beat it, join it. Like the purpose of Neuralink is to create a high bandwidth interface to the brain such that we can be symbiotic with AI.
Saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live.
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. I met with Congress. I was at a meeting of all 50 governors and talked about just AI danger, and I talked to everyone I could. No one seemed to realize where this was going.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
This was futile. I tried for years. Nobody listened. Maybe they will. So far they haven't. One thing is for sure, we will not control it. The merge scenario with AI is the one that seems like probably the best.
And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads.
I was really going on the warning quite a lot. I was warning everyone I could.
And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven.
Now, if we do have a third layer, which is the AI extension of yourself, it will enable anyone who wants to have superhuman cognition.
And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
And if that's the case, then, and let's say billions of people do it,
and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name,
then the outcome for humanity will be the sum of human will, the sum of billions of people's desire for the future. And then people may decide that they want to retain their biological self or not. I think they'll probably choose to retain their biological self. If your biological self dies, you could probably just upload into a new unit. Literally.
You'd made some money from the sale of PayPal. You decided to build a space company. Why on earth would someone do that?
For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God.
The goal of SpaceX is to try to advance rocket technology, and in particular to try to crack a problem that I think is vital for humanity to become a spacefaring civilization.
I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High.
Which is to have a rapidly and fully reusable rocket.
And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast.
What are the things that need to happen in order for the future to be an exciting and inspiring one? And I really think there's a fundamental difference if you sort of look into the future between a humanity that is a spacefaring civilization that's out there exploring the stars on multiple planets. And I think that's really exciting. And compared with one where we are forever confined to Earth until at some eventual extinction event.
Let no man deceive you by any means. For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God.
But the big innovation is still ahead, and you're working on it now. Tell us about this.
It's important that the rocket stages be able to come back, to be able to return to the launch site and be ready to launch again within a matter of hours.
Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved.
Wow.
Yeah.
Reusable rocket.
Yes.
I guess paves the way for your dream to actually take, at some point, to take humanity to Mars at scale.
SpaceX or some combination of companies and governments need to make progress in the direction of making life multiplanetary, of establishing a base on another planet, on Mars being the only realistic option, and then building that base up until we're a true multi-planet species.
And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven.
In April 2016, SpaceX announced that they are planning to send a mission to Mars, potentially as soon as 2018. This mission, known as Red Dragon, would be privately funded, receive support and guidance from NASA.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
Meet the Dragon 2, a capsule currently being developed by SpaceX as the successor to their original Dragon capsule, which has been supplying the International Space Station since 2012.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
How have you done this? These projects are so... These PayPal, SolarCity, Tesla, SpaceX, they're so spectacularly different. They're such ambitious projects at scale. How on earth has one person been able to innovate in this way? What is it about you? Almost no one can do that.
And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
Elon Musk, I wish we had all day, but thank you so much for coming today. Thank you. That was awesome.